168 to Elephant Castle.
Evening everyone. I'm talking very quietly because I'm on a bus and I don't want to disturb anyone. But everyone's commuting because it's actually quite AM, even though you're watching this in the PM. I'm on my way to another thing. That's right, it's a pre-record. Working my way past what was once a great Canada's Love Walk. Yeah. Highly recommended. Or at least it was. It's gone down a little bit as they've got busier, but still a good brunch. Anyway, I digress. Where am I off to? Let's continue to trace my journey across London. Yes, this video not sponsored by Love Walk. This video is a year later, exactly a year after I recorded it. Partly because I was expecting there to be some other television programme coming out to accompany it a few months ago, and that hasn't happened yet. Ruddy BBC. Anyway, the main thing is we're filming this because I quite enjoy the anticipation of a journey. So I hope you don't mind the self-indulgence of taking you along with me on this little adventure from South London through Elephant and Castle. Oh look, it's the elephant. It's the big hole that they've been digging, or were digging a year ago. In fact, that's where the station, and where the mall used to be, and all the tenants that are never going to be able to afford to be in the gentrified new one. Anyway, down in the tube, down in the Bakerloo, which is nice. There we are, tube time. Oh look, I'm inside a tube train. They're quite snazzy, the old Bakerloo trains. They might be old and knackered, but I think they are quite kind of nice retro vibes. Anyway, from a bus to a tube inside a tunnel, which is possibly relevant to what we're going to be doing later on. Whoa. Right, anyway, up to Marylebone. Yes, I think I'm so clever with my teases, but actually you know what's going on because it's literally in the title of the episode. But anyway, on the train, heading northwards on the Chiltern Line. Oh, and what's quite good about this is partly that you get this fantastic run along the Metropolitan and some of these fantastic stations on the Metropolitan, like this Space Age station, but also you get to see how busy a corridor this is, and the reason why HS2 is so expensive, because it cannot use, there is no existing railway corridor that the trains could use sensibly to get into London. And in fact, you start seeing some of that physical work, you start seeing the HS2 route along the Chiltern Line. You can see all the physical work going on here as the line pops out of one of the tunnels and kind of runs alongside the line. So you have a fantastic view. Travellers have a fantastic view of the construction of HS2 along here. You can see where one of the bridges will be. You can see the caissons there, where the piling will be for the supports. And then there's another bridge. Go back. Yeah, here's some D-veg works, and there's another bridge. There's the crossover and HS2 to the other side of that. It's all very exciting. I think that's a local haul, Chiltern Railway Service. Here's the M25. Yes, making good progress. Anyway, as we journey northwards, as I say, I know this is a self-indulgence, and I know that I do this and bring you along on my journeys at the intros to our videos, but I quite enjoy the anticipation of a rail journey, to do a thing. So I'm trying to vaguely emulate that. Let's see how that emulation goes. So I just hopped off a train, and I happen to be in a place called Leamington Spa. There it is. Now, why might that be, I wonder? Well, this is a very nice station. I like this. It's a mixture of concrete and all sorts of things. And in fact, if I go over here and spin this way, there's all these features here. It's quite nice, this Leamington Spa station thing. It's quite good. Also behind me is, I'm not going to show him because it's over there. There's a Jeff over there, which we might see Jeff later. Anyway, it's all our train is just it's the haggard-looking 168 disappearing off into the distance. Poor thing. Anyway, right, it's time to go find a minibus, I think. Let's do it. Anyway, right, let's continue this strange adventure. I've just showed you some B-roll probably of train journeys across some nice, basically it's just like the extended London suburbs that extend pretty much all the way to Birmingham. Anyway, I'm going to go and put my ticket through machine. Let's see what happens. So yes, our planes, trains and automobiles adventure continues. As you see here, me sat next to Ben, and indeed in a vehicle with Paul Bigland and Jeff Marshall and all sorts of other people. Anyway, yes, so as you get closer to our destination, the scale of works grows. You can see kind of the line of route of HS2 starting to really be well defined. Enormous amounts of physical work happening, and this was a year ago, so more has happened since. And much like my rail journey, the sense of anticipation is really building. Yes, we've got the frustrations of bad decisions being made on sections being cut away, but actually, I honestly do get a fantastically powerful sense of anticipation and excitement about this new bit of railway being built. The scale of works is absolutely spectacular. The engineers, thousands of engineers, apprentices, senior engineers, graduates, all of the people supporting them to make this project happen is really pretty inspiring stuff. And nowhere kind of really typifies this than some of the kind of heavy civil engineering sites, of which one we're going to be visiting today. So after all that fun, we're up to shenanigans, but you don't know what those shenanigans are because we're going to show you momentarily. And Jeff is here next to me, and together we're going to just welcome you to tonight's rail. Welcome to tonight's rail natter! Here we go!
Here we go.
As the Intercity 225 fades away, here we are, we're plodding through the site actually on our way down to, we've just gone past a load of segments and there's a bit of chat we'll have with Axel talking through through exactly what happens. We're just about to go through the gate. In fact, I've got my pass, I'm going to go through now. Yes, because we'd just been in the office to do our sign-in, so also took the chance to sneak a look through into the rather unused laundry room at this point. Got our PPE, of course, filled in the tunnel visitors induction record to make sure we were all safely signed in properly, went to the loo, washed our hands, had a look at the board talking about National Inclusion Week, saw how international the team is, and then got very excited at the TBM control room in behind this door. Anyway, what was I saying? Yes, we're here at the north portal of Long Itchington Wood tunnel, which I may well have said a minute ago. Last time we did this, we were at the south portal of the Chiltern Tunnel, or the pair of tunnels. That was 16 kilometres. This is shorter. It's about a mile, I think, about 1.6 kilometres. Specifically to go underneath the Triple SI. Triple SI and Ancient Woodland. You often hear me talking about, just make sure we're being nice and safe. There's Jeff filming me. You hear me talking about the fact that Ancient Woodland is a fairly useless habitat designation unless it's paired with other specifics like either an SAC or a Triple SI. Well, this is an example of being a Triple SI, and HS2 is building 1 mile of tunnel to avoid impacting on it. So all this effort, all this you can see here, there's Jeff behind me, all this effort behind, you can see all this work is for 1 mile, well actually 2 miles of tunnel because it's 2 single bore tunnels of a mile each. Actually over here, you can see that there's the portal with one hole. I'm going to open this gate very carefully. And I'm filming now to give you an idea of the scale. You can see how much is going on here. I'm not going to repeat I'll try and avoid repeating what I said last time. This might end up being a nippier video, we'll see. It never is it? I try and I always fail. But so I'm going to try and avoid saying the stuff I said before, but I might refer back to bits of that. So if you haven't already, then do go back and watch that reasonably long video down at Chalfont St Peter, I think, isn't it? That's near where it is. We're near Southam here, I think. Also, you can see, look down here, there is a safe walking route. You can see we've got barriers protected here, making sure that we're not getting in the way of the vehicles. You can see a variety of multi-purpose vehicles and specialist vehicles, all for making their way into taking people safely in equipment and materials and all sorts of different bits and pieces, and the rings, of course, or the segments for the rings, all those pieces, taking them into the tunnel. This one's looking quite clean, far too clean, in fact.
You want me to explain a little bit this?
Yeah, go for it.
So this is the tank we use for grout. The small tank is a sodium silicate, a crane for reparation works or anything we have to do in the tunnel, and you can see the 2 cabins, one on the front and one on the back. They are foldable, so the truck goes into the tunnel, and when they discharge all the equipment, it goes back. The driver just goes into the door cabin and comes back to the charging area.
this. We're walking.
Double video camera.
Double video camera action with the two of us are filming simultaneously. And will this make it into the edit?
It'll make
into
it
the
tomorrow.
tight edit of Jeff's.
I just want to know, why did I get a blue helmet and you got a pink one? Is the only,
yeah, well,
all of YouTube is screaming right now.
I have no answer to that.
Why?
I have no answer to that. I'm going to spin round actually and give you an idea of scale. So you can see, if I look there, you can see it's just a road essentially going in now, just a marked tarmac road. Quite different way, the launch platform is quite different here. You can see, partly because Dorothy is quite a long, named for Dorothy Hodgkin, the Britain's first woman Nobel Prize laureate. Dorothy is well into the tunnel, making decent progress. I think it was actually broken down right now because of a block in the slurry pipe. It's just standard, nothing to worry about. That happens with these things. It's a bit like running a tunnel boring machine. It's a bit like Apollo 13, where they dump all the junk on the table and try and work out how to get the square air filter and the round air filter to fit into each other. Well, running a machine like this, you can plan huge amounts of planning and preparation, but actually if things go wrong, you have to improvise. That's a good example. But anyway, yeah, making its way, decent pace. Making its way through underneath the woodland. You can see one comment here. You can see how tightly the tunnel is nested up against the ancient woodland. So there is still going to be some impact. There is clearly some impact, noise, disturbance to the habitat here. But by avoiding bulldozing straight through it, the impact should be limited. And this tunnel, once it's running, the tunnel will mean a bit less noise, a general improvement over if they just bulldoze through it. So the triple SI remains. Actually, there are other triple SIs along the route, not very many that get impacted, but the other one, look behind us here, there we are, a multi-100 million pound bat structure is being built at the other triple SI down towards Culvert. So anyone who suggests HS2 is bulldozing its way through the environment without paying any attention to it just doesn't know what they're talking about. These, I presume, are as I'm stood on here, are slurry pipelines working their way, feeding slurry back and forth, slurry out, and possibly then bentonite mixture kind of in as part of the process of washing out, digging.
Sorry, Gareth, I'm going to interrupt.
Go for it.
What's a slurry pipeline?
Oh, so the material getting dug out, gets a good chunk of it is getting sent through these pipes as slurry, having been mixed with kind of fluid to make it more easily transportable, and then it goes out to a slurry treatment plant. Hello everyone in this video and on Jeff's video. Slurry treatment plant, which Axel's going to talk to us about, which is back over there in a building that we kind of saw earlier. And in fact, we saw it at Chiltern Tunnel as well. You could see the slurry treatment plant too. There, everyone. I didn't look at you, I looked at Jeff, but his videos are more edited than mine. You don't really care.
Okay. So as you say, the pipe for the slurry treatment plant, there. This is the compressors, the substation. So we get here with 22,000 volts, and we go down to 11, which is the consumption of the machine. We have the compressors to supply the machine with a compressor for the hyperbaric intervention, so for any diesel machine, and the cooling plant for the machine. Was also like cooling the cooling system of the machine. It's cool here.
So you think all this infrastructure, again, temporary. It's all temporary works.
You can see there the cable.
Ah, yeah, you can see the power cables. This thing is powered on the good juice. Again, making the point that actually that electricity can be sourced from renewable sources. Increasingly you're seeing construction sites moving away from using kind of diesel in powering their kit. Whether this is actually here at it might be coming from a diesel generator, I don't know. But this is probably the pumps. But you can see the potential for look at these pumps here behind. There we are. Heron Connect, by the way, manufacturer of the TBM machine, same as at Chiltern Tunnels. There's a model that I think I will put up later. But actually, to be honest, it's the same as the previous tunnel boring machine. The difference here is it's a bit wet underfoot, by the way. The difference here is the diameter of the tunnel. So I believe the diameter of these tunnels is 10 meters. Chiltern Tunnel is 11.2. Someone will correct me on that if I've got it wrong, but I think there's an ever so slight difference, which I don't know exactly why that is. I think it might be aerodynamics. It might be to do with pumping out, the pressure action through.
It has to do with the pressure of the train and of course the length of the tunnel.
So shorter tunnel, very short, it's a mile long tunnel, you don't get that hammer effect that you do through a 10 mile tunnel, so it doesn't need to be as wide a diameter tunnel because the aerodynamic effects as the train hammers through are less. There's no shaft, there's no intermediate shaft here either, of course. The tunnel doesn't need it. It's short enough, and that would defeat the object. Look, I'm scanning through. Here we are. I'm actually filming as I go through as well. Oh, look at this, it's fine.
There is a minimum that we call the dynamic envelope. Because you cannot, even if the plan is very small.
We're talking about gauging. Gauge clearance analysis is my speciality there. So I'm going to pause again because this is the bit where we need to get a tag. There's a tally. Looks there's a tally system here, and basically it's a tag in, tag out system. Anyone who worked in a depot, it's not dissimilar. So here we go. I'm just going to close that door. Lovely. And we're making our way in. So you can see, we're now in what is clearly a much more intensive working area. Here we go. I've got my self-rescuer here, which is if I apply it and pull the thing out, it'll start pumping oxygen into my face if I need to. So if something goes wrong, I've got my self-rescuer, which I apply, put goggles on, and so on. You can see some civil engineering going on here as part of what will be, I presume actually, as part of the construction of the actual portal itself, which won't just be a hole. It won't just be a flat hole. There will be an extension of the structure out from the tunnel portal. 3 points of contact. There we are. In order to allow me to film, I have to be very careful. The reason I'm filming this whole bit is to give you an idea of scale. Just give you an idea of scale. We've got Axel behind us here explaining some things.
The pipes from the slurry. Yeah. The pipes from the water and the compressor.
Okay. Right. Yep.
And actually behind you can see
Power to the TBM.
the scale there. There is a hole. It's a slightly smaller hole than the Chiltern tunnels, as I said a second ago. You can see the earthwork behind, nicely graded, lovely, same on the other side. But actually you can see slightly treated, and then there's shotcrete that's been sprayed as a protector behind. That'll then get built up again. When they actually build the portal out, that'll be built up, there'll be landscaping, and then obviously the structure of the portal itself. So here is the fan above us. I'm not going to do Jeff's joke.
It's working. We have a silencer because of the neighborhood and the environment, but it's working, and it will produce fresh air to the top, to the bottom of the TBM, and that air will push all the dust outside. So we make like a circuit pushing fresh air up to the bottom of the space. It's always like that.
So that sounds like it's so rather than there being an active suction at the other end, it's just a pressure thing where the fresh air has been pushed in. So there's not an extractor pulling all this stuff out, it's just fresh air being pushed in, and then it's a short enough tunnel that the mucky stuff is just going to naturally get pushed out behind. I'm going to hold on here, so we're just climbing up. And here we are inside the tunnel. You can see, look at this, the scale of it, it's huge. We've got it's not really extraction, it's the pump that's pumping fresh air in above our head. And you can see the back end of Dorothy, the TBM. I'm getting in Paul's way now. Lots of isolation points.
We have connection with the office, the TBM. We have Wi-Fi. Right. That's a high voltage cable, top of the water, there, and on the other side. So I have 22 positions for the keystones. Playing with those 22 positions, I can go up, down, left, right, slightly to the left, slightly to the right. So the machine is doing the tunnel, and the segments are following the machine. So what we do as we do the tunnel, we put the keystone in a place that is suitable to follow the machine.
Yeah.
You can do as a 90-degree cut. If you put the keystone always at the right, at the end you will have some stages.
Yeah.
If you put it in the bottom, it will go down, up. So that's how the pilot manages also the assembly. So we decide in every advance where are we putting the keystone. Okay?
So unlike the Chiltern tunnels, that adjustment is actually made in the play within the gasket and the tolerances in the connection between the we're working our way into the machine now. It's very exciting. Where is that? Very exciting indeed. There we go. We are now in the TBM, in the machine itself. So sorry, Chiltern tunnel, the play is within the tolerance in the rings. In this one, it's that there is a natural taper of the segment.
A safety notice to our listeners: this segment was recorded inside a working tunnel boring machine and therefore is going to be loud.
Close the valve just behind, we will disconnect the pipe and the whole system will go again there.
Okay.
And then we start this pipe with this pipe there. And we start again.
Okay.
So every 12 rings we have to install a couple of new pipes that are ready going there. That's one system. The ventilation cassette you can see over there, it's all in a cassette, and as we advance, standing.
Yeah.
So after a few advance, we take the cassette down and we get a new cassette.
Just go past the toilet there. So Very nice. Just explaining about the process for actually, because this thing is constantly moving. You've got all these feed cables, pipes, all need to work their way through. So you can see there's a roller here, actually extending and working its way through to allow every 200 meters they'll attach a new segment of all the cables and things. But that has to kind of extend as the machine moves, as the TBM, the tunnel boring machine, works its way through. This is starting to become very much an active machine now. So you can see here all the grout and the mastic that's being used as part of this. This is a machine that needs to be lubricated, whether that's connection with itself or connection to the outside world, to the shape around it. Well, we're just saying behind, look, there's the surface of the tunnel. And this is a tank of sodium silicate behind as well. That's part of the mix for the grout. It sense it's getting dusty now. That this is an active construction site. Everything's covered in dust because you expect that dust to be coming through, no matter how much there always will be dust coming through, no matter how well maintained and clean the site is. You just can't avoid it. So these segments are 7 tons each. 2 meters in sort of longitudinally once they're in the tunnel. You can see the segments there behind being moved into place. You can see through here, I'm going to be filming my B-roll on my way back through. We're actually about to cross over on our way and we're going to get a view behind. So some trains just hanging down. If you want authentic Bond villain set type situation, you can see there's muck and all sorts. This is a busy, mucky construction site. I'm going to look behind me actually to give you an idea of what's going behind, the sort of scale of the machinery. It's very noisy, making our way through. I'm ensuring I've got my handhold here. You hear the noise and the pump running. But again, you can see this is a nice, clean, shiny tunnel surface, and actually they will jet wash this. They'll come through and wash it once they've completed the grouting works. You go past the people actually doing the work here. Actually, that's where the maintenance has been happening. I presume that's where they're clearing this blockage, the slurry blockage that's caused work to sort of slow down. So you'll notice we're working up and down our way through this machine. There's Herring Connect, look, there they are. Herring Connect. So here we go, this is very exciting.
After this work, we will have the pre-chamber and then the excavation chamber. All these motors are moving the cutter head. They are synchronized and they move at the same time. A main bearing that will move the cutter head. The main bearing is the most important part of the TBM. If you break it, there is no spare part.
That's it, yeah.
And we don't have one inside. So they are synchronized. One of them is the brake, because of course you have to change the direction of movement every advance. There is an action and rotation, so the machine tends to rotate.
Ah, yeah, okay.
So every advance or every half advance, the pilot will stop the machine and will start rotating the other direction to compensate that.
See, that's very good fact to know. Yeah, that was.
We used to
torque on a helicopter,
that's
same
another
thing.
thing we don't have in all times, a brake, because it takes like a couple of minutes to stop the inertia of the catching wheel.
Yeah.
But those 3 minutes in every advance, at the end of the day, it's 1 hour, so it's 1 ring. So at the end of the brake, it's an hour of money. So we have a brake. This is the brake. How I know it? Because it's a little bit longer, as you can see, than the rest of the engines.
Yeah.
Okay? So when we are working, you can see all of them working at the same time. We call this safe set. In case some of them have a malfunction or they have a problem, they disengage automatically from the bearing in order not to damage it.
Yeah.
So we have this safe set that automatically goes out.
So that bearing is an absolutely key element.
Exactly. And
irreplaceable.
It's 10 meters diameter, made for tailor-made for this project or for every machine. Usually some companies they make 2 and they keep 1 in Germany just in case.
Yeah.
But also if you have to change it, you have to make whole excavation, go through the machine and take it out. In Seattle, in the United States, in Warwickshire,
the big dig.
they have a big problem, and one company destroyed the main bearing. They have to make a big hole in the center to take it out. And sometimes you don't have one; you have to manufacture one, and it takes like 6 months. Like this, I told you before, it was pumped from over there, but you can see it there.
So we are working our way towards the pressure chamber, the hydraulic pressure chamber. As Axel was saying, there is a pressurized cutting face in order that you can keep all the moisture and very carefully climb over this pipe here, all the moisture and earth and everything. Watch your feet there, Paul, and keep everything away so it's not pouring in. You obviously keep the tunnel shape after the cutting head before the lining has been placed, before the segments are placed. And here is the chamber.
After that
behind me.
You will have after that door you will have the the cutter head, the 2 chambers and the cutter head.
So there it is. This looks exactly like the one that's in Timothy Dalton's last Bond film. You remember from that famous sequence. Pressure chamber, and behind that there, in fact, you can just about see it through there. Is the cutting face. That's the business end. That's where it happens. And so if I turn around, behind me here, you can see just above it all to the outside world. That's nearly 200 meters worth of tunnel boring machine. Dorothy, 2,000 tons worth of machine, cutting a mile tunnel underneath Long Itchington Wood. Fantastic. Oh, that's been interesting. We're going to film loads of B-roll as we go through, but the scale is very difficult to communicate, and hopefully I'll give you a bit of a feel for that. There's Paul behind. Hopefully give you a bit of a feel for that as I plodded through. The scale is enormous. You can see behind here. You can see where that sort of sealed metal wall there behind there is that cutting face. Absolutely spectacular. Let's just turn the ambient noise down a little. You can see back along Dorothy that huge length. And these here, this is one of the mechanisms that actually picks up the segments for each ring, picks up a segment and places it into the tunnel wall, and then the mechanism of the machine pushes back against each of those to push the thing forward. So I think I'm about to tell you. Behind me here, you can see the pressure rams pushing against. So the cutting head is that way. The tunnel that's already been in is that way. Above us is the shield. And above that thin bit of metal is earth. Above that is the forest, the woodland. So you can see the whole machine pushes off the completed ring, in order to actually push the cutting head forward. That's how it works. You push that. In fact, again, there's that little bit. I think I put it in the previous video, showing that mechanism working in the museum. Well, here's the real thing, and you can get a feeling of that scale, the enormous scale of the thing. By the size of look at the size of these hydraulic rams. They're enormous. Let's turn the volume down a little bit again. So we're moving kind of through the machine again, through the gubbins, the guts of the machine, from the cutting face back towards where the rings are placed. You can get a feel for the scale of the machine here as I kind of queue up behind Paul. You can see the team here fixing that slurry flow issue. And yeah, the whole thing has somewhat of a submarine feel to it, with all the different sort of pressurized systems, making sure that it all works. Look at the size of this pump. It's a spectacular looking pump, that. Crikey, looks like a kind of marine diesel turbo. Anyway, yeah, very very submarine. All the chains hanging down. It would make a fantastic bond layer. This. Yeah, there we are. More pumps, more machines, and actually we're moving back into the area of the machine that actually places the rings. As you can see here with this sort of HS2 footage, thanks HS2, the footage here of the actual rings being placed, sort of sped up footage. They actually get picked up by that kind of machine. As you say, picked up by the tree, moved into place against the cut face of the wall. Actually, there's a tunnel shield between the earth and the wall there to protect everyone, but then that shield is slid away. Those rings then take on the bearing pressure. You can see they're placed. You can see that they're being placed by such a machine. That machine already a kind of impressive bit of robotics, but being kind of controlled by a manual operator there, or rather someone with a very complicated looking remote control device. You can see this is still slightly sped up. It gives you an idea of the speed the machine actually moves there as it's being placed in. Slightly sped up footage. It goes in, placed in, and they're designed to sort of reasonably neatly lock into place, other than the keystone, which I would imagine requires a little more precision. But yeah, as the shield then is pulled away from these, the bearing pressure is then pressed onto the rings rather than onto the steel tunnel shield. Anyway, right, let's continue through the machine, climb up some stairs and go up to the top level again and see what we can see. Well, here we can see Paul's feet, but after that we'll see what other bits and pieces we can see as we continue our adventure through the machine. So we've actually gone up to the upper level, actually, further back from the cutting face again. We're above that pump, so it's quite loud here. You can see teams in the various chambers, these container vessels, and up here, actually, this is very exciting. This is the control centre, where they're driving the machine. If you're worrying that it was a mundane way to drive this machine, and that piloting this machine was not very cool, or that it didn't have really kind of cool sort of Star Trek style blinking panels with switches and buttons and all sorts, I'm very pleased to tell you that incorrect. it is precisely as Star Trek and awesome as you'd hoped it would be. Look at these, look how awesome all these controls are. It's absolutely brilliant. So you've got controls for, the actual cutting wheel, start, stop, rotational speed. You've got the void measuring system that you can extend and retract, which I think is what this here is for. You've got the controls for the shield articulation cylinder, thrust cylinder, so that's actually pushing the thing forwards, the screw conveyor for material, tail seal compound, and then the motor start buttons and all the various things for running that motor. It's exactly as awesome as you'd hope it would be. And then there's just the array of screens with all the information explaining the health of the machine, the health of the cut, kind of what the progress is, just making sure everything is running exactly as you'd hope it would be. This is some kind of owl, and I've just spotted the coolest thing ever, which is there's a panic button.
So all these screens, we have the same ones in the office, but the difference is that we cannot control them. We can see, but the only one who can control the machine is the pilot from here.
So this is the TBM pilot here talking us through the kind of the complex system of systems that makes up a tunnel boring machine. And the fact that you have this kind of really complex array of sensors to ensure that, given that this is a complex system of systems, you have to understand if something goes wrong. You need really, it's very difficult to just go and troubleshoot the whole thing if you don't know where to go and look. So the pilot here talking us through kind of how that system works, how all the various sort of sensors feed back into this interface to allow you to troubleshoot and identify what an issue is. And you can sort of see the hierarchy tree here. It's all quite sci-fi. I like this retro mixture of Star Trek kind of knobs and dials and buttons and lights, a roughened laptop from the early 2000s, the sort I had to play with in primary school, and then all the sort of kind of modern level engineering that's kind of going into actually keeping the TBM working. It's quite good. Anyway, thanks to Axel and the TBM pilot who guided us through. We're going back outside into the noise, so get ready. Yes, back out in the noise, following Axel here as we're kind of working our way back out of the tunnel, kind of along the top of the TBM this time. And the whole thing is kind of powered by electricity and then hydraulic sort of systems and pneumatic systems powered by electricity. So here's some transformers. Axel pointing out some transformers, my bad camera work here, pointing out various transformers. And we see as we get further away from the cutting phase, we're getting more and more of the kind of ancillary equipment. So, transformers, tanks of grout, for example, as we're going to see in a second, but lots of transformers for all the various things, lighting, powered systems, pneumatic systems. As I was saying a second ago, here's a grout tank. If we have a look in, shove the camera in, you can see the stirrers there to keep the grout tanks, sort of the grout from turning into concrete.
Rescue chamber, in case of an emergency, we get in there, we have water, power supply, food, toilets, and oxygen for 24 hours for 24 people.
So stuff of nightmares. If there was a collapse, some issue, particularly on the kind of the portal side, this chamber in here that Axel is just showing here. I'm just going to quickly flip behind. This chamber here is the subject. You're in there. You're theoretically safe for 24 hours. There's enough rations and oxygen in there for 24 hours. Where you can look out this little hole and watch the whole tunnel collapse around you, and then someone will dig you out, hopefully within 24 hours. But no, that's obviously absolutely critical. It's more presumably for if there's some issue like fire, perhaps, or something like that, where it's...
The most critical thing in our tunnel is they have one of the vehicles have fire in the middle of the tunnel. The only way out is through the tunnel. There is no way out until we finish the tunnel.
Yeah.
So if we have a smoke, also you have a problem, because this will last for 20 minutes. So the thing what we used to do is go in here, wait the fire to get down, or basically the people to give in. And we have a CO2 converter inside, some water, food, and even a toilet.
We were talking about Apollo 13 and CO2 converters earlier. Well, there literally is one inside this safety chamber, so there you go. And here we are, following Paul and Axel out of the TBM. Now you can see the less ancillary equipment. Those, well, I don't know what they're pneumatic. I don't know. They look interesting though. Anyway, there we are. There's one of the big drums with huge hefty cables on it. So this or was it pipe? Was that pneumatic pipe? Anyway, as with any linear infrastructure, the most efficient way to deliver it is with a kind of a factory system, and that's very much what the TBM is. Fire exit, keep clear. There we are. There's a loo by the look of it. So what is that? EnviroLav. That's going to read. Yep, there it is. Do not use full of. I didn't see what that said, thankfully. Anyway, pipes. So yeah, the thing with a moving factory is you need to be able to, as Axel was describing, extend the pipes, extend the cables, and so on. So that's what's going on at this end. And you can see now less ancillary equipment. That's definitely the fire suppression system there, though. Less ancillary equipment and more kind of heavy lifting for kind of bringing some of that kit in and out. You can see some cranes there. This kind of big moving factory, kind of very much, everything's much quieter, more calm now, and as I kind of plod along, I think you can see the scale. It gives a chance, without my face in the way, you can really get a feel for the scale of these tunnels. Absolutely enormous. And you can see there the steel guideway that actually made sure the TBM was kind of correctly aligned on the approach into the tunnel. But there we have it. That's it. I mean, what a tour! Look back at we're about to have a look back at the TBM. That was a tour of the TBM. Pretty spectacular, I think. So, there's another thing I want to show you while we're back outside again. This is the other portal, or will it be eventually. Now, what they're doing, they're just using one tunnel boring machine here. Actually, they're going to use this machine, I think 3 times, possibly. So Dorothy's going through this way. We'll reach the other side. We'll be dismantled and brought back here, so you don't have to build 2 staging posts, so you're minimising the carbon there. Bring all the pieces back here, reassemble, and then do the same thing again in the same direction. So it's almost like this first bore is a bit of a rehearsal of the second bore, because they're going to encounter pretty much the same geological sort of formations and muck in the same timings, just about, as they go through again. Same strata of geology as they work their way through. So that's what's going to happen. They'll be rebuilding it here. So you can see the staging, or the staging kind of position here. You can see the concrete staging platform that they'll rebuild Dorothy on before they go back through again. And next to us here as we walk out is some of that platform that they'll repurpose. There's the steel part of it. We're going to hop up now and have a look at some of the. There, I like the line. Some nice little signs that you can sort of pause and read, describing. They're up at the kind of the interpretation element that gives the view out over that. I'm going to do my outro from in a minute, but just describing some of the features, including another very nice information board describing the main elements of the TBM. So you can go right from cut ahead and the main drive all the way back to sort of the ancillary kit at the end, and the emergency exit area, and of course the tunnel segments to feed it, and the slurry treatment plant to deal with the stuff coming out of the muck, and all of that fits into this site. There's a little drawing of the site. So there's the staging area for the actual access to the TBM, the tunnel entrance, and we've been plodding around. There's the slurry treatment plant, the area where all the tunnel segments are, and then all the kind of ancillary borrow pits and bits and pieces from around there as well. They'll all get landscaped and will genuinely have disappeared. Only a few years after they finish the physical work. It'll be quite impressive. So we've just had that fantastic inspection or kind of journey down. You can see there are 9 rings there. They're kind of external that'll get broken out when they then build the sort of portal. The portal runs out along here, heading northwards towards Brum, and you can actually see the alignment. HS2 alignment continues up, cutting through the hill, round the side, and then off ski. The 6 foot, the distance, the interval between the tracks widens here to go through to manage to fit through the 2 bores. And you can see the head wall behind. There's the head wall with all the soil nails poking through. You can actually see the setup on that side. This side is where they will having dismantled that Dorothy, they'll bring Dorothy back over the hill, in and reassemble Dorothy here, to do the same thing, to repeat the process again to get the 2 bores here at Long Itchington. So, here in July of 2022, so a few months after I did this video, you can see there's some civil engineering gore there of the slop kind of pouring out, and indeed the rebar of the cutting head of Dorothy breaking through into the pre-prepared sort of a kind of arrival area, if you like, the portal at the other end. Actually, there's going to be a bit of green tunnel, so they're going to extend the board tunnel with some kind of cut and cover green tunnel at this end, the northern end of Long Itchington Wood, and you can see there. Spectacular moment as the concrete splashes through and Dorothy cuts through a rise in I think it was July of last year. So pretty impressive stuff. And then so they have to obviously clean that cutting head. So they brought the cutting head out. They brought the cutting head out. Oh, a bit dizzy. This cutting head was brought out, cleaned, and put on the back of a lorry to be taken over the hill. The rest of it, while we see the team very pleased here of kind of breaking through, the rest of it is actually brought back in reverse. You can see here being reversed back back out, that'll then be craned over onto the kind of the steel staging point. You can see they're assembling a new shield, cutting it. They've just lifted the cutting head in off the lorry. There it is. There's the cutting head having just been lorried back over to this end. Kind of assemble that in, attach it, connect it up, then bring all the kind of the TBM kit will be brought back onto a new kind of steel staging point on the other side. Actually, they might fabricate a new one, not anyway. You can see they've attached it, and then they press on the head, and as a result, that tunnel pushes its way back through, and you can see Long Itchington Wood there in the background. We're back at the north portal here. There'll be the green tunnel here when the board machine appears out. But there we go. All to protect Long Itchington Wood here, the nice bit of woodland that is annoyingly privately owned and should actually be publicly accessible if it's an ancient woodland. But anyway, that's another discussion for another time, I think. So that's the process, and that's us up here. And I don't think I'm going to add very much. This might be quite a short one. I don't know. When by the time I pull it together, we'll find out. So it only really remains for me to sort of say to all the audio-only listeners, there are, I'm just going to get lined up. Yeah, to all the audio-only listeners, thanks for listening. Yes, you can listen to Rail Natter on all good podcasting platforms. patreon.com/GarethDennis to support this, to make more of it happen. To make me not feel guilty about taking half days or days off work like I have today to come and film. And then the Discord server and PayPal. Yeah, so paypal.me/GarethDennis if you want to chuck pennies and abuse at me. And the Discord is where the chat that's been happening. Hello everyone in the chat. All the chat has been happening in there. That continues in the Discord server. GarethDennis.co.uk/Discord. Oh, and yes, next episode is An Odyssey of Historical Curiosity with Bob Gwynn from the National Rail Museum. That should be an interesting one for us to watch. Episode 154. Enjoy. So there we are. Having had a walk through, having done a video of some kind. All I'm going to say is it's just with Dorothy, kind of the back end of Dorothy behind me, is cheerio everyone, cheerio. I'm coming, I just need to finish this, then I'll be with you in a sec. That's for the thumbnail.
This episode was brought to you by the British Rail Class 153. Do you want a train that typifies the misery of Britain in the early 90s? Then look no further than the British Rail Class 153. Unfit for human habitation? Don't worry. Stick a vinyl on it. Shove your muddy bikes in there. No bother. The British Rail Class 153. You can't go wrong.
British Rail Class 153 not for sale. Can definitely go wrong. Terms and conditions apply.